1. Hello and welcome to On the Bench. I'm your host for this episode, Brendan Sinone. I'm joined by Chris Nee, not Zach Blostein. It's Brett Nevitt. Brett, welcome to OTB. How's it feel to be in the big chair?
Feels great. I'm so excited right now. I can't wait to see what happens here in this episode.
Okay. The excitement is palpable. We can feel it. Chris, how do you feel? Like a proud father seeing like your third son here sitting there?
Since I don't have the video up, I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, yeah. Cool. Excited. Great to see you, Brett.
Great to see you, too. Thanks for covering baseball this weekend.
You're welcome, bud. I enjoyed it nonetheless.
It is a perfect time of year for baseball to start. It's spring in Tallahassee. We made it. Beautiful baseball off to a 3-0 start. We'll get into that. We'll get into it. Don't you guys worry. We got Brett here, so we're going to discuss baseball. Zach is on the road doing some recruiting stuff in his roots in South Florida. So Brett fills in for him today. Thank you, Brettathy. We appreciate it. Before we get going, a shout out to our sponsors. And guys, be totally honest, a hell of a week for our sponsors. Hang tight here. So Chattanooga Whiskey was named the Craft Producer of the Year at Whiskey Magazine's 2026 Icons of Whiskey Awards. So let's go. We don't sell you guys swill. Listen, if I'm telling you it's good, I know a thing or two about whiskey. It's good. We've been telling you for years they're crushing it in the craft distillery game. This is just they're winning awards here, folks. It's actually their second time in 4 years winning this. And if it's a whiskey magazine, I assume they know what they're talking about too. But in all seriousness, Chattanooga Whiskey does a fantastic job. I think a huge reason why they have had so much success and win awards is because they try different stuff. In the past year alone, they've done 22 unique different types of bourbon and whiskey releases, cacao infused. They're doing collaborations with New Riff, which is in Kentucky. And so like they do different stuff with different distilleries too. Just right now they have an Irish pot still version out, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the Chattanooga Whiskey's crushing the craft distillery game. They're going to paint outside the lines, and it's going to be beautiful. They're going to paint within the lines, too, and it's also going to be their 101 and entry-level bourbon, their rye, all really good stuff. And then Buyer Sonone, which we will play a hefty amount of, is sponsored by – let Brett do it. Oh, I talked over it. Damn it. Do it again. 3, 2, 1.
The Turner Group.
It's his first Turner Group. Let's go. Colin, Amy Turner, awesome people. They do an exquisite job in the home buying, home selling market. So much so, guys, number 3 is on the board. They have sold a house through OTB sponsorship, which is awesome. Want to give a shout out to Tyler and Cheyenne for buying a home with the Turner Group. Closed on one, I think just this past week, which is awesome. Both of you, Tyler and Cheyenne, thank you for listening. And I'm assuming based on the picture, it's Tyler was the FSU fan smiling. He had an FSU hat on there. So thank you so much for listening, for giving them a try. I'm sure it was an amazing, easy process because those are good people. So yeah, this is a great week for the OTB sponsors. Oh, great week for baseball, great week for basketball. Football hasn't lost in months. Like, guys, things are looking up. Looking on up. Do you want to play some Buyer Sonone?
Yes.
All right. Bye. Play it right, Brett. Buyer Sonone, sponsored by
the Turner
Group.
FSU will embark on a true quarterback competition this spring.
No.
I couldn't even get it. I couldn't even get it out. It's Chris with a quick
They recruited Ashton Daniels to be their starter. Let's quit telling lies here.
I agree. That's a full buy for me. Explain. I mean, we hear Mike talk. We've been listening to Mike Norvell talk for 6 or 7 years now. We have a good idea of his mannerisms, what the words he says, the words he doesn't say. Like you can kind of read between the lines on all of it. And he is talking about Ashton Daniels as Ashton Daniels is the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and Ashton Daniels wouldn't have come here if he didn't think he was going to be the starter because of the fact that he has a limited clock. Specific comments I'll cite for Mike Norvell commenting on the subject is when he met with David Hill and Andrea Adelson on the ACC network. I believe that was last Wednesday. I don't recall the name of their show. Apologies, but I do enjoy the show because I enjoy
ACC. Inside access with the ACC. Yeah, I got it.
He stopped short of downright saying he is the starter, but he was outright saying Ashton Daniels was recruited here to be our starter. If you read those comments, it's pretty blunt there, in my opinion. I know there's a push for Kevin Sperry talk and whatnot, and even maybe Malachi Marshall, who doesn't arrive till the summer. Now, they recruited Ashton Daniels to be their starter. If Ashton Daniels isn't the starter, it's because he had a miserable spring and a bad preseason and or injury.
Or Kevin Sperry crushed it, but really we're talking about what the probability is, and I'd say 95% likelihood that Ashton Daniels is a starter. Brett, you're nodding based on what you know on the situation. You've listened to Mike speak over the years too. Is this a hard Sonone for you as well?
Yes, it is, obviously. Yes, Sonone for me.
A hard Sonone, say it. It's okay.
It is a medium Sonone.
You know what? Sometimes medium Sonone gets the job done. Buyer Sonone, sponsored by
The Turner Group.
FSU fields a top 25 offense this season.
Okay, are we talking statistically or what it actually produces? Because statistics can be fooled, as we learned last year. You can ramp it up against Texas A&Ms of the world and look fantastic. It doesn't mean your offense is good down and down and can do what it needs to do. Statistically, I would buy. Reality, I'm Sonone.
We'll talk about like maybe the advanced like analytics, like the SP Plus or something that's going to actually adjust for opponent.
I think FSU will actually be a better down-to-down offense this coming season because of who the play caller will be and who the play caller won't be. But I don't think it's suddenly going to be this offense that I would describe as a juggernaut or top 25 quality in the sense of producing when it has to produce against quality opponents.
But you,
I
Brett?
guess adjusted version, I don't believe it's top 25.
You're Sonone it. Okay.
I was going to say somewhere between 25 and 40, so Sonone it.
Okay, you're on the low end. Yeah, I'm 25 would be the high side for me, but 25 to top like 30. I mean, I'm kind of bullish on it. I think it'll be a high variance offense. I think from game to game, it'll probably be fun to frustrating. Ashton Daniels, I have some belief that he's turned the corner with the turnover issues. I don't have as much belief that he's turned the corner with taking sack issues. And so if he takes a lot of sacks, there'll be some games where you waste a few possessions and that's going to hurt the total line there. But I think you have really good weapons on the outside. Deuce Robinson is going to be a better version of himself, you would think. Mekhi Danzy, you would think, would be a better version of himself. I think you've added a more stable running back. And then you obviously have Usman Kroma in year 2. Like, I don't know. There's things to like. The offensive line does concern me, not some of the feedback we've gotten out of early workouts. It's a group that's in pretty good shape. Last year's offensive line, well, ended up being pretty darn solid. And I think some of that is the Gus Malzahn scheme allows for you to not have an elite offensive line and still be capable. It was not a group that came in fantastic shape. Micah Pettis wasn't in great shape for a good chunk of his FSU tenure. Gunnar Hansen was hurt. So you had some things holding you back. I think they feel like this group is more capable of hitting the ground running. I do think it has less upside. But yeah, guys, I'm optimistic about the offense. Borderline, dare I say, excited.
Dare you say it?
I don't know what it is, what specifically, but I have more belief in Ashton Daniels already than I ever did in Tommy Castellanos. That's just it. I never trusted Tommy. I guess after the Alabama game, I'm like, all right, let's see how this works. And pretty quickly, like the preconceived notions that I had of him and the sporadicness of how he handles quarterback and just kind of the emotional fluctuations there. I think Ashton's going to be a little more calm and cool. Brett,
do you feel like Daniels has a higher floor and ceiling as a passer? Is that why, or is it just
he doesn't have a higher ceiling? I think Tommy's like a game, like some of his deep ball stuff was actually pretty awesome this past year, but we saw the floor was really low. Ashton Daniels is a more accurate passer over his career. Like he is statistically a more accurate passer. I like some of the short game passing he does. I do get worried still about accuracy at times. I don't think he's a great accurate passer, but he's average. He could probably be average this year. He's probably below average, and he can be average, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So, yeah, I trust his floor a little bit more than Tommy's. I didn't ever think Tommy was going to become a fine, adequate, consistent down-and-down passer. I didn't think that was in his arsenal. That was the best case scenario. I think Ashton can do that with the decent offseason. Buyer Sonone, sponsored by
the Turner Group.
Cam Brooks has a Desir-like impact this season. Chris?
So Cam Brooks was good at the end of his senior year. It took him a little while to get back. I believe it was a shoulder injury that had hindered him in his high school career some there at the end. He is capable. The first step has some juice to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he has a Mandrell type of impact. A Darryl type of impact, I might buy that. But
I gave you the out there and you took it.
Yeah. I think he can be a two deep guy that helps you, and I think he can make some plays. Do I think he can be ultra consistent and play a ton of reps? I'm not sure about that.
I think they're treating him kind of like someone who has that. We have to go through the entire spring, and I'll say this, by the end of spring practice, and actually pretty early on, they had a feeling that the Desirs were going to be solid players for them, and that was shown through actions of them playing them early in the year. We know that FSU now renegotiated their contract before the season as well, so they have bought some credibility to me, the defensive staff, in terms of generally the guys who they thought were going to be solid players for them in their first year were. I think they hit at a fairly high rate there. Maybe like Earl Little is one who regressed during the season. He was not him, I guess, but like even then, like there were still good moments from Earl. There wasn't anyone who they said was going to be good and just completely fell off the maybe other than James Williams would be the only one that I wouldn't trust there. And Jason Jenkins. All right, there was a few, but I think they hit more than they missed.
Sir, you're making a Christmas list over there.
I'm talking myself out of it. Generally, I think like Jabril Rawls is a guy that they were high on. The Desirs was a guy that they were high on. Darryl was a guy they were high on. Who else?
Barker.
Ashton Barker.
In that role, and he was when he played. One thing I'll add on, Cam Brooks comes out of a very good high school program, very competitive program, very well coached program. Tends to put a guy a little bit ahead of some of his peers who are at the same level.
I think that's a noteworthy development. We posted our a tour of duty tee. Easy for me to say. The last couple of days, offense, defense. There's a lot of information there. I think we do a decent job putting context to it best we can. Obviously, spring is a time for optimism, and that is noteworthy. I think maybe the biggest thing that I got out of our reporting is Zach and I heard something similar here from different people. I say my source is a little bit more optimistic generally, their outlook on life, and Zach's is a little bit more pragmatic and I guess realistic with kind of a little bit of skepticism, and kind of approaches it how I do too. But both said that the vibes are much better than what 2 years ago were, and in last year, like there's wasn't bad vibes, but you're not having to convince guys of things right now. Less bitching and moaning is how it was described, which is good. We'll take it. We're all looking for something to feel a little optimistic over, and less bitching and moaning is probably a good thing. Buy or Sonone, sponsored by
the Turner Group.
Support staff turnover this offseason is a sign of, at a minimum, perceived instability at Florida State.
I think I would say it's a buy in the sense that it speaks to the fact that there feels like there may be an expiring clock that expires before December 31st of this year. Yeah, if you can go somewhere and reset the clock, you go somewhere and reset the clock. If you can go somewhere and it's a promotion, you obviously do that. If you can go somewhere and basically build out your resume, if you're a really young guy, you do that. There's a varying amount of reasons why guys have left the program. But I think the fact that so many have left, there's been such heavy turnover, speaks to the fact that there's not a belief that 2027 may exist. It's a to be determined.
How many have left, Chris?
Well, you know me, I love going position by position. So quarterback, obviously Tokars goes. Bogner was your quarterback guy. He leaves. He goes to Mizzou, which is a return home for him. Austin Tucker leaves the receiver position as a support guy, becomes the quarterback's coach. Running back, you have a whole lot of change over there with Yak departing. Alex Elisami left and went to Buffalo. Cam Martin comes in and hires Sean Shivers. He's left. They'll hire somebody new there. Receiver, we talked about Tuck moving from there to quarterback already. Tight end Preston still there with CT. O-line is had change over there. They lost Coop. I almost forgot Finger Guns Forever. Lost Coop to Buffalo. They moved Meach back over from defensive line role to O-line role. He leaves for K-State. They've now hired an individual from UCF for the O-line. D-line mentioned Meach already did that. Linebacker was Ernie, was your assistant. He became your primary position coach. DB, they hired Dowles. I forget who left there. They hired Rothschild at linebacker as the new assistant there. So, I mean, it's pretty much every spot.
And
now 2 of those are internal promotions to more significant roles.
Yeah.
But still.
I'm counting in who's the analyst? Arnett left, and
special teams also saw a change with Rutt leaving with JP.
That's right. So I'm at 11, and that's not including internal promotions. That's a listen. Like right now, there's a ton of turnover happening in college football. The exodus of college football coaches to the NFL has been an interesting development. I've seen a lot more of that, I feel like, than in past years. But in general, I mean, that's almost a dozen. That just off the top of Chris's head that we can think of 11 departures. It is on the higher side of things. For
I'm sure some listeners like, why does that really matter? A lot of those guys, one, they're pretty good football coaches, and two, a lot of them are excellent in the recruiting realm for FSU in the sense of being assistants on recruiting visits, dealing with kids, building relationships, sometimes scouting and finding kids and offering kids. One thing I do like is Mike Norvell and his staff tend to give those guys some leeway to make some offers for themselves to some really good prospects, and it excites them. They enjoy recruiting. It kind of sets them up for what's coming later in their careers. So you're just severing a lot of those ties, which is, disappointing, but it's a business.
Meach was a valuable.
Meach was retained on like Chaplin's visit this year, Pettis's visit last year. He's a guy that really connects with those guys because he's still in their age realm. He played the position. He knows what it's like here inside and out as a player and a coach. Yeah, Meach busted his ass, did a good job. Elisami was like basically a brother to Cromanhawks. I mean, he was super tight with Luke. He was huge in that recruitment. Plenty of others that Alex had a role in, but he did that. Preston Brady loves being involved in recruiting. Like he's a guy that, and he's still here, but that's an example of a guy that really enjoys it. Coop did a lot of work with O-line guys, also offered guys in Tennessee. Rutt, Mississippi guy, special teams guys. Like everybody had kind of a role like that. Sean obviously was here very briefly at running back, but he had some ties to South Florida with like Chaminade and Carroll City and those kids. And he was involved in some of those junior day visits.
They did bring back Gabe Fertitta. I think that's a nice off-season. It is an off-season addition, but off-field addition. He can kind of be like a roaming offensive coach, but he can help recruit in different areas too. He's personable.
Louisiana and Mississippi are big ones for Gabe.
Yep. Yeah, and that helps. They lost Rutt, and he had Mississippi ties, so that'll help out too. And obviously, yeah. So all this stuff happens in college football quickly now, where guys come and go, but it has been at a higher rate this past year. And you had someone like, the reason why I asked this was Shivers leaving was such a quick. He was here for a month or so, and someone who I think would have been solid for you too, who's thought of pretty highly. We saw that he moved on to Notre Dame pretty quickly, and he's going to work with wide receivers. So yeah, it's tough out there right now, and I think it does show kind of where you're at in the pecking order of the college football landscape at this exact moment. Yeah,
it's from an FSU perspective for me, it's a heavy shift from a lot of very heavy loyalists. Austin Tucker, for example, came in the door with Mike when he got hired here, has moved up to a position coach, but he did that for several years. Alex Elisami was a player here, transitioned into that, did that for several years.
He had been here longer than the coaching staff had. Yeah. Other than Odell, he was the second longest tenured FSU person on the roster, or on the entire.
Now, the vast majority of them are relatively newly hired people that have lesser ties to the staff and or the school.
All right. Buy or Sonone, sponsored by
the Turner Group.
When does spring practice start, Chris?
I threw up that schedule here recently. It's in March. It's a week before spring break. I think they get 2, maybe 3 in before spring break, and then they hit spring break week off.
I hate that. I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either, but I'm also glad they don't do it during spring break. I don't think that would be well received by players, and I don't think it would be well received by significant others of individuals covering the program.
You think Caressa would be upset if they were doing?
Yeah, be unhappy with that, yes.
Okay. Well, this is all done for Christopher Nee. If anyone's listening, Mike Norvell, if you're listening, ask Caressa practice schedules for the season. What time works for Chris optimally?
No, the season is what it is. Just don't mess with spring break.
Okay. What are you doing for spring break?
Probably going camping. I'm pretty sure that's what we're doing.
Chris doesn't seem like a big camper to me, Brett. What
Enjoy
I
camping.
always go camping.
Yeah.
I could see
Like-
Chris eating up a bear.
do you poop in the woods?
No. No. Most places are like organized campsites.
Okay, that's not.
Like
Okay.
Henderson
All right.
State Park, for example, would be an example, or Perdido Key would be another one. There's a ton of them throughout the state.
I
It's a
was
good-
picturing him in the woods in a tent, like with a Davy
No,
Crockett.
I've done that too, and the youngest one does that with some of the Boy Scout stuff. But no,
How long do you think you guys could survive in the wild for? Like you just get dropped. Like was it Not Naked and Afraid? Well, that's one of them. We
you
don't
don't
need
want
to
me
be
naked. You'll be afraid. I think I would evolve in the wild. I think I'm built for
naked. Your animal instincts would kind of come out.
it. The thing would be the hunting and killing portion of it all. I'd have to improve dramatically there.
I had a neighbor who was on a show that was short-lived of that elk of like, get dropped in the woods. I think it was like Fat Guys in the Woods or something like that is what it was based on. And they had to kill a pig. And it was so like the whole process of actually having to kill it, he became vegan afterwards. He just couldn't do it anymore. He was so traumatized by the experience. He's like,
I love TV shows that are basically it's like Survivor, but we're gonna put fat people on it. I love the idea of the pitch happening of like it's just like this, but we're gonna do this one thing differently. I love that.
Brett, how about you? There wouldn't be any pink coffee drinks for you to drink.
No, I was going to say I'm probably not making it past 24 hours if I'm being completely honest.
I often think like with my leg, like if there was an apocalypse, like how easy of a target would I be? How quickly would it happen? I'd really depend on my wife. She's really good at survival stuff. So
Brett,
until
if they locked you in a baseball press box for an entirety of a season, and the only thing you had was a fridge with waters in it and maybe food once in a blue moon, could you do it?
I'd survive. Can other people come up with hot dogs? Is that allowed?
It's just
Yeah,
you.
who would you eat on the beat first? Let's
Oh
put
gosh, that's crazy.
I mean, if
we had a
you get on
cannibal.
here, if you need a lot of food, I'm towards the top of that list, probably.
Are you volunteering? This seems to go against your survival
I'm not
instincts.
volunteering. I'm just saying, like, you don't own those skinny dudes.
Just need to add a 7 brew to the press box and I'll be fine.
All right, I want to, let's talk baseball real quick, and then I want to play a game. But baseball starts 3-0. They 2-0 over the weekend. JMU, there was a rain out on Sunday, which seemed expected. Could you provide some insight into that, Brett? Why they didn't do a doubleheader when it seemed very likely that rain was going to be an all-day thing on Sunday?
Yeah, Link's made it pretty clear in the past that he doesn't want to play double headers.
Okay.
And you don't have to play double headers unless you're an ACC play, and there's certain rules that make you play double headers to get all 3 games in. But in non-conference play, it's kind of just up to the team that's hosting it and up to stadium ops and up to the head coach along with stadium ops. And FSU doesn't have a full-time grounds crew, never has in the time I've been here, and that's part of the problem with it. But yeah, I think everybody kind of knew what Sunday's forecast looked like. JMU also wasn't leaving Tallahassee until 8 o'clock on Sunday night, and I think their game curfew was 5 o'clock, and I want to say the weather was out of town by 2 o'clock. So yeah, a little disappointing to not get 3 in over the weekend, especially with the fact that Jacksonville had played 4 games going into last night. So I don't really think you had to worry too much about arm depth going into that game, just because it felt like JU was really thin last night with the arms. But yeah, Link's made it clear in the past that he doesn't really want to play doubleheaders. So,
And so you go ahead, you beat Jacksonville on Tuesday night at Jacksonville. It's not always like an easy trip for you for whatever reason. It's just always a weird Tuesday spot early in the season. So 3-0. I know it's baseball and 3-0 only means so much, Brett, but like, what are the takeaways? What felt good watching the team so far in the first few games?
Yeah, obviously the last 2 days, the offense has been really, really good. And Dowd at the top, Braden Dowd at the top of the lineup, the USC transfer, I think has been on base about 7 times or 8 times in the last 2 games, including a homer on Saturday. So he's looked good. I thought, Noah Sheffield has looked really, really good. He didn't start on opening day, but got the pinch hit opportunity and has taken advantage of it since then and kind of run with it, hitting second in front of Miles at the DH spot. And Chef looks really, really good right now, just barreling everything up and in a ton of rhythm. I think he had a couple more hits last night, I want to say, including a double down the left field line. Miles Bailey is Miles Bailey. He's what we expected, started from the first pitch of the season. And I thought Cal's been off to a decent start, has put together some quality at-bats. And Karn's in the 5 spot as well. I thought, I think it's close there offensively. Brody down at the bottom third of the order has already hit a couple home runs. So I think, the lineup so far feel pretty good about it. And obviously Chase Williams involved as well. I still feel really good about what Chase is going to do. Just need Chase to put the ball in play more consistently, because when he does that, it's 50-50 chance that he gets on base, at least if it's on the ground. I mean, we saw him beat out a routine ground ball to second base yesterday. After in the at-bat before that, he stole 2 bases and 2 pitches. So yeah, I feel good about the offense. I thought Wes Mendez on opening day looked pretty solid. I think some of the bullpen arms as well have been really, really good to see, and that's been something that's been good so far. Brody Purcell specifically on opening day was a tick up or two that from what we had seen in the fall and preseason. So I think there's been a lot of positive signs to this point, but like you said, only 3 games.
Yeah, so I love watching Dowd play ball. I just think he's a really well-rounded baseball player, both at the plate and in the field. He's been very good for him. Cal Fisher that you mentioned, no strikeouts yet, is something that's I think is a positive, because I think he tends to chase some bad pitches historically in his career. I think he's been better about that so far through 3 games. On the pitching staffs, I think it was Stokes that went 84 to 96 on his first 2 pitches when he came in the other day. Yeah, have fun with that. Like, the arm slot's pretty similar on the things he does. He's fun. I love a good power arm, and I'm excited to watch that. JU game I kind of watched with one eye, as I was also watching softball as a basketball game last night. So I didn't get to take as much away from that one as I did the first 2, where I watched every inning from inside Hauser.
When's their first real challenge? What stretch is coming up here that kind of okay?
Yeah, they play 3 different teams in Arlington, Texas this weekend at Globe Life Field, where the Texas Rangers play.
That's cool.
On Friday they play Michigan. On Saturday they play Auburn, which is the only ranked team that they'll play, and on Sunday they play Nebraska. Michigan is off to a 3-1 start in Sunrise, Arizona, against 4 really good teams. Almost went 4-0 with 2 wins against Oregon State, but Oregon State won in extra innings on Monday. I was actually watching that game when they walked it off. And then Auburn is the number 9 ranked team in the country. Was a really, really good team last year. I think their arms are really good. I watched the Saturday starter that they're going to face, kind of a little similar to Jamie Arnold, but more so like what Jamie looked like freshman year, like low slot lefty, but more 90-92 rather than when Jamie was in the mid-90s. But Auburn's lineup is a little thin, especially Chris Rembert, who's their best offensive player, got hurt this past weekend, and I don't think he's going to play. And then on Sunday, they play Nebraska, who was a regional team last year because they won the Big Ten tournament in Omaha. So 3 good teams that they'll play this weekend out there.
What are you looking for out of that, Brett? Like what would make you feel, other than winning, what would make you feel good leaving that stretch?
Yeah, well, I think one, it's a big park, and you got to play good defense in a park that big. And I'm interested to see how the defense plays, because that's one thing I'm a little concerned about coming out this weekend, which you wouldn't think with a Link Jarrett team. But, I kind of feel like that is something that needs to be stirred up for them. They felt a little more sloppy than usual this past weekend. But I think mostly the thing I'll be looking for is just how the pitchers and bats look against that competition this early in the season. We're not used to seeing a ramp up this quick for their schedule. Usually they have a second weekend of some light competition. I can't remember for sure when they went to Greenville a couple years ago if that was the second or third weekend, but either way, it wasn't, quite the level of competition that they're going to face this weekend. And then also just being in a big league stadium, how do they kind of handle that? We haven't seen them, in that environment, I don't think, since I've been here. So be interested to see how they handle that. So yeah, just how they handle the competition, how they handle the environment.
Interesting. That's an interesting start to this season. Has baseball done stuff like this? Like, I was like, that's a college basketball type of deal. But
this is their first really big one, like going to one of these. I went to Greenville a couple years back, but that was just against Michigan State, Western Michigan, and I want to say Illinois. So it wasn't quite the high profile I think there were a lot of fans in Arlington last weekend. I think they set the record for the amount of fans they have there, like 20,000 plus. But I think that was mostly because Arkansas was there, and Arkansas kind of filled the place out, and TCU was involved as well. But I do think you'll get some decent crowds out there because college baseball is just starting to grow a little bit, and I think that's a good thing. I wish those games were on ESPN instead of Flow Sports because I think it would help a lot with growing the sport. But yeah, it'll be tough for some FSU fans to watch the game this weekend. I'm sure I'll get a lot of questions about how to watch it, but you're going to need a Flow Sports subscription to watch the games this weekend. So
maybe a message board post on how to do.
I just realized I had an account still from softball last year. So I'm ready to go.
Paying for it?
I'm paying for it, yeah.
Oh, geez. That's a toughie. I got to cancel my YouTube TV subscription.
Baseball used to play in some of these kind of tournaments under 11, but truthfully, I don't remember a whole lot after 2000-ish. I know in the 90s they played in like the Oscar Mayer Classic, and then I think they played in it when it got rebranded. It was like Hormel Food Classic. I want to say that was in Minnesota. They played one in New Orleans. They played one, I want to say with Cal State Fullerton. I remember them going out to Hawaii and playing like 6 games out there. I can't remember if it was a tournament format or that they just ended up playing Hawaii and Hawaii high-low out there. That might have been early 2000s. I think Steve Ellis, God rest his soul, was on that trip. But yeah, I don't remember it a whole lot. It's not something I remember Meat doing. And I don't remember it really a whole lot down the stretch with 11 either.
All right, so let's transition here. I have a unique Chris Nee expert in Brett Nevitt. I think Brett understands Chris as well as anyone, the mind of Nee. And I'm just going to ask Chris different questions here. Some of this is going to be FSU related. Some of this is going to be life related. Brett, any point you want to jump in, analyze what, why, follow-ups, please feel free. But first, Chris, I want to play a game with you, okay? I'm going to name guys who I thought were going to be good recruits or good prospects early on in my time covering Florida State. None of them really materialized, but you're going to tell me what high school they played at.
Okay.
All right. Going to start off with an easy one. Javon Pig Harrison, back in the 2014 class, wide receiver.
He was from Lakeland. Did he play at Lakeland High?
Oh, close. Lakeland Kathleen. I thought he was going to be better than Ermon Lane, better than Travis Rudolph. He was part of that class, and that just never really materialized for good old Pig. All right, this is a super easy one. If you don't get this may have been too tough of a game. Trey Marshall.
Oh, Lake City, Columbia. I watched Trey get his chest caved in at, I believe it was at the Gene Cox. Just blasted. One of the most vicious high school hits I've ever seen. I think it might have punctured his lung, if I remember correctly. It was nasty. I mean, it was full tilt coming down the sideline, full speed. Trey was a hell of a high school player.
His lung got punctured. Didn't he have to be airlifted out of there?
I can't remember if he got airlifted or amboed out, but he was hurt pretty bad. It was vicious. Columbia is such a good program. I mean, obviously Timmy Jernigan, Tunzel, Trey,
Shaheem Brown
back in the day, Bernard Wilson, I believe, is another one from there. Shy's from there. Yeah, just tons of kids over here. I believe BA is still running the program. Brian Allen, former Knoll, is still running the program over there.
Okay, moving on. Lorenzo Featherston,
North Carolina kid.
Yeah, if you can get the city right, that counts. Yeah, I'm not going to hold the high school here. If you can get the city right.
Durham kid. I don't think he was a Raleigh kid.
This may be the most fun Chris has had in a while.
I knew he was going to like this.
I cannot remember.
Greensboro.
So believe Lorenzo committed to FSU, I want to say while they were out in California. I can't remember if it was for the Oregon one or the national championship game. But I believe I was driving around out there when he committed.
It would have been the national championship game because he was on the roster, I think, for the Oregon one.
Okay.
Helped him out in the 2014 season. Do you remember the Jimbo Fisher quote on him?
No, but he was so intriguing. Like, he had such a ceiling to go meet. Him, Josh Kando, are two guys that I always think about that way. Like, they look prototypical of what you want to be. They never quite amounted to that as a player.
Yeah, Featherston had some chronic injuries. His issue with being 6'7" and kind of skinny is the joints are probably not fantastic. He had the game, I think it was against NC State, where he balled out and had a couple, or maybe it was Wake Forest. It may have been Wake Forest, Greensboro. Yeah, it may have been going back to his roots a little bit. But the quote here from, oh, sorry, getting some feedback in mine. The quote here from Jimbo Fisher, if I remember correctly, was someone asked him after his breakout game as a freshman, he's 6'7". What's the difference there between being just like a 6'4"? And Jimbo said 3 inches of greatness. Marcus Lewis, defensive back.
I want to say Maryland.
Close.
DC.
Yeah, DC, Gonzaga and DC. Yep, close. That was another one that they talked up quite a bit.
Who was the DB from Maryland who passed away in the last year or two?
Oh.
He transferred out, if I recall correctly.
Litton?
Yeah, AJ.
He passed away. I think I remember him getting in a
car accident, right?
That's right. Oh, shit. Life, man. All right, thanks for bringing the mood down, Chris. That was an unnecessary pivot. Brett, why did he do that? Explain to me. Explain the psychology there.
His brain was just processing information, and that's where it led him.
Okay, fair enough. Final one here. Cole Minshew. Swole Minshew.
South Georgia boy. Was he Coffee County?
Yeah, he was Coffee County, Douglasville, Georgia. Yeah, or Douglas.
Now home of Mike Coe, excellent high school coach formerly of Madison County.
And I think Cole coaches there with him too.
He was on that staff at one point. I don't know if he still is. He may be. I'm just not sure. They actually have an excellent tight end, 28 or 29 kid that's coming up who kind of reminds me of the young man that just came out of Brunswick that went to UF. Has he can? In the sense of he's like a jumbo body who can do a few things, but he likes playing tight end.
Can he pass the ball like Hezzy Kent could?
I don't know if he can.
Hezzy's a wild prospect. I love South Georgia recruiting. Just what's that?
Thomas County loaded, so that kind of helps. Like that's the beginning mark.
And yeah, I'm talking about you go to like that's not that. Yeah, I'm talking about you go to the
one kid you find at Clinch County who's really good, or the one kid you find in Homerville, or
I'm talking about the high schools that have just one high school per county, and you go through some farmland to get there, and all of a sudden there's a dude. Yeah,
this game came about for Brendan because yesterday he was sitting watching video of South Georgia guys, and he asked me where like Montezuma and Dooley County. I'm like Vienna, Georgia. He's like, where's Vienna? I'm like near Montezuma on the way up to Macon.
And he was right too, which is just
Charles Nance. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Yeah. That's why this happened. It's like just a randomness of how I remember small details.
All right, so let's get into. Yeah, I can't call it what we were calling it yesterday. I don't want to get in trouble, but I do want to have a name for the game, but I couldn't think of one that was PC. I want to go best fast food burger with you, but King of the Hill style. All right.
I mean,
we'll play the game. Wendy's versus McDonald's.
I'll take McDonald's double quarter pounder.
All right, McDonald's double quarter pounder versus whatever burger. Do you do a Whopper?
I'm not a big Whopper guy. I'd much rather a Whataburger double.
What about Whataburger versus McDonald's?
Whataburger.
All right. What about Whataburger? Help me out, Brett. What else we got?
In Tallahassee now, there's not much more than that.
Culver's.
What about Culver's? Yeah, Culver's pretty good.
Culver's cheats, though. It sucks even with the ice cream.
Well, yeah, it does. The ice cream's pretty good there, too. Everything Culver's does is actually solid. If you want to sponsor us.
Fine. If I'm having a singular burger in town at a fast food joint, I'm probably having a Whataburger.
All right. I agree. I think it's well done. Go ahead, Brett. What do you got?
I'll say the Jacksonville broadcast last night was sponsored by Whataburger, and it was all I could think about all night, and it made me want Whataburger.
You went out after the game to get Whataburger, kind of like the Taco Bell trip in North Carolina.
Well, and I think there's Whataburgers coming to Tampa now. So,
what? Whataburger? How do you pronounce it? Say it again.
Whataburger.
I did a blind burger taste test for my birthday like 4 or 5 years ago, and so my wife and my
birthday.
I was awesome. It was during the pandemic, I think, so it wasn't a whole lot going on. And so My wife went and got a bunch of burgers. My mom came over and brought over a few. So we had them for everywhere other than McDonald's because the McDonald's on Mahan sucks. And just it was like a 40-minute process. My wife said, no, you know what McDonald's sounds like. So anyways, blind taste test. I tried everyone. I got him 100% correctly. It was a gluttonous experience, and I'm not proud of myself, but I'm also really proud of myself. And Whataburger was my favorite of all the ones.
Both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. I used to throw down fast food burgers all the time. I've changed a little bit.
I feel like they're easy to tell which one is which based on how they're like shaped, the size, the taste. They're all very different. I feel like
that's what it was easy. It was easy enough.
Similar are Burger King and Whataburger, maybe
flame broiled
in size, not in the taste.
I did think I was going to get Burger King, and Hardee's does some of the flame broil too. I thought that would be confused. I would say Checkers was awful. I didn't realize Checkers was that bad until I had it compared to the other ones. And then I was like,
the only thing that's good about Checkers is the fries.
The fries are awesome. Checkers does some awesome fries, and their apple pie is just like a deep fried apple pie. It's pretty good for what it's worth. Diarrhea after all of this. That's how it works now. All right, same game, Chris, for you. Lager or sour?
Nah, I'm a lager guy. I'm not a sour guy. I don't enjoy sours.
Lager or a Hefe?
Lager.
Lager or a porter?
I like them both pretty equally. Not helping everyone.
It's like your sons. You have one favorite. You just can't say it.
Just get the hazy IPA or brown ale. That's a true battle for me. That's where it becomes.
We're getting to a nice. We're getting to
right, porter. There you go.
All right, porter. All right, porter versus an IPA.
I'll take a hazy IPA most days.
All right. What about a hazy IPA versus a stout?
I love me a good stout. I think hazy IPA is a more consistent choice.
Okay. All right. So you're an IPA guy. Is there anything else I'm missing? I don't think so.
I love a good Hooter brown ale. Like that Hooter brown and like a top tier hazy IPA. Those are my creme.
A fresh Hooter brown out of Apalachicola is pretty exquisite off the tap.
Yeah, it's not bad on Gain Street either.
Well, I mean, they make it there too, I guess.
Sours are elite.
Brett has a very
I have an interesting palate.
I mean, you skew towards like fruit stuff, but fruit sour. You mean the coffee drinks that he has all have like strawberry flavor to them, so he skews more towards that.
I'm a very fruity man, one would say.
Clip it.
I'm not clipping that. Real quick, my dog's crying. I need to make sure she's not pooping in the house again. I'm going to give you a poop story when I come back. Let's talk about hoops real quick while I address this, Chris. They are on a little bit of just 500. They're moving on up in the world.
Yeah, 13-13, 6-7 in the league. Last night was uncomfortable, but good in the end. I think it also said something about the team that we now watch play. They were down 14 to pretty lowly BC, came back and won by 8, outscored them by 22 in the last 11 and I think it was 28 seconds, 11 minutes, 28 seconds. Yeah, I mean, in the last month, they've really kind of remade themselves. And I appreciate in this day and age of mercenary rosters that group, especially with a lot of guys who are veterans, kind of decide to step their toes down and do what they had to do. LeJay Jones went from being a kind of a fleeting shooter to a guy who does everything but shoot a whole lot, and he's been pretty good at that. Robert McRae is the guy who can put the team on his back, as Luke Lauk said after the game last night. Chauncey Wiggins, still a bit of a light switch player. It comes and it goes. When it's good, they're a pretty good team. When it goes, they got to have those other two guys definitely step up. You know, VTech, they stormed VTech in the second half in Blacksburg. It was probably the most impressive performance that team has put on under Luke Laux in their time here. And Martin Somerville was a huge piece of that. So they have some pieces that are fun to watch. They have a decently favorable schedule here down the stretch. I mean, they do have Miami, who's playing themselves into a tournament team. They go to Clemson this coming weekend. They host Miami on Tuesday. Those will both be very challenging games for them, in my opinion. But then they have Georgia Tech, Pitt, and they wrap up with SMU. I think they have a shot of winning 3 of the last 5. Anything more than that would be exceeding my expectations. Less than that would be pretty much baseline 2 and 3 in that stretch. So it's going to be interesting to watch here down the stretch if they can finish over 500 for a year. They're almost certainly an ACC tournament team at this point. I don't know if mathematically it's clinched, but it's got to be pretty close. BC's pretty much not a tournament team. I think Pitt and Georgia Tech are still in that domain of not making it. I've enjoyed it. I think Luke has shown that he's a coach who's willing to evolve. I think he's got players who buy in, which I think is a sign of understanding how to recruit a roster, especially being they did it in such a small window of time. I mean, if you think about it, Luke gets hired, I think it's March 10th. He basically can't hire a majority of his staff outside of G and Michael Fly really off the bat. So he's kind of recruiting a few men down, and he's trying to assemble an entirety of a roster because they're flipping the whole thing. And he did it in a very short window, and he got kind of his primary five: Kobe McGee, Chauncey Wiggins, LeJay Jones fall into that. Robert McCray obviously is part of that with Michael Fly's ties to him. And then they kind of worked on assembling other pieces. Tomas Basong was one of those, a freshman who's been a nice defensive piece for them. And they've had to piecemeal it during the year. They really are only a group of about 7 guys. Alex Steen's not a big piece of it all. And they've done an effective job. It's been fun to watch. They were a team that very easily could have just kind of rolled over and played dead. I don't think Luke would allow that. I think he'd go berserk if that was to happen. He's just such a competitive person by nature, as he was as a player. He is as a coach. But it's been fun to watch them kind of figure out what they had to do to win games. They quit trying to be we're going to play really fast, we're going to have a ton of possessions, we're going to shoot a ton of threes team. It became, how do we beat the team that's in front of us today and do that? And I think obviously long term they would like to evolve into that team that forces you to play at a high pace and play at a high number and have to score at a really high clip to beat them. But they're not there yet, and it's going to take time. And it's been fun to watch that evolution. Credit to not only Luke but that staff. I think that staff's played a huge role in both the evolution of Luke as a head coach and the evolution of this basketball team. I think that's another credit to Coach Laux, that he assembled a bunch of guys that he trusts, and some guys who truthfully are superior to him in experience as a head coach, and that he's comfortable enough to sit there and take in what they're saying. It's not my team and I only have say. It's, we're group coaching this team. I'm ultimately the head coach. Things fall on my shoulders, and I ultimately make the decisions. But I'm going to take the input and believe in it, and we're going to have real discussions. And if you watch last night's post-game press conference, he talks a lot about that. And that's true. Like sitting and watching practices prior to the season, throughout the season, the amount that staff as a whole, Coach Ken, Jim, Michael Fly, Derwin, as he's learning the ropes of being this, you watch them kind of pour into the team in different ways. Justin Lindner is another one that does his job really well at a high level for player development and for pushing guys. And a lot of those GAs, it's really impressive. Like it's a group and they work really hard, and I think it's going to be fun. I think they're going to go to Clemson and play their backsides off and really make the Tigers work for it. Clemson's a better team than FSU, top to bottom. And then Miami comes to town. FSU kind of owns Miami in basketball. Miami's playing really good hoops right now. Big recruiting visitor for that one. I think those 2 games are going to tell us a whole lot about what is the ceiling for this team this year, and how much is this team going to be a pain in the ass for teams when they make the ACC tournament.
It's cool. We talked about it the last podcast. The ability to adjust so much on the fly is unique. You don't see that a ton in many sports to the extent that Luke Laux did at Florida State. Big picture is you have an element of buy-in. I think you see that the investment that you made in him as a coach and his malleability in several ways, from a cultural standpoint, from scheme, because they wanted to have a clear identity there, and they shifted that evaluation, even getting the right personalities in. Like there's elements there that point to big picture stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
We know that they have Chris. I know that you're finishing off this season. If you can get to over 500, do something in the ACC tournament. Like I think I'd imagine most fans would be happy with that for what the future looks like because of what they're bringing in. For the casual fan such as myself, like who are building blocks? Like who could you potentially bring back? I know it was a senior heavy group that he brought in the transfer portal, but in addition to a really talented freshman class you're bringing in, like who are the building blocks moving forward?
Well, obviously, eligibility is kind of a joke these days, so you never know if another guy will get another year. Like LeJay Jones is a guy who has a JUCO year, so we'll see if that turns into something more for him. But as far as guys that definitely can come back. I think Martin Somerville is a crucial piece to that all. I think he can become a starting point guard level guy for you. He's a solid 3-point shooter. He's a guy who's vocal, he's loud, he's active. I just think he's got a lot of good DNA to him. Tomas Basong, real good defensive player. He cares immensely. He's a young French kid with a lot of skill. He can really develop into something. I think that could be real fun for them long term. He hasn't played, but I do think Jason Lopez is going to be a guy that's going to help them long term. And then we'll see with Swinton. AJ Swinton's so interesting to me because I think he's somewhat the converse of what they're trying to be as a team. He's not a high-level three-point shooter. He's a better three-point shooter than he shot lately, and he made a big one last night. But I think he's like 3 for his last 11. He's a little better than that, but he's not a high-level shooter, in my opinion. He's more of a very good athlete who play really hard on both ends of the court. He can create some kind of garbage points for you by boards and putbacks, steals and takeaways and fast breaks, things like that. I think he's really skilled in that. I think Swinton's a guy that if you asked me this question 2 months ago, I would have said he was out because he was someone in the doghouse. He was not doing things as he was supposed to off the court, and he was being punished for that, and that's how that program works. But he has evolved and done a really good job of being a much better teammate and player and committed to the program better in the last several weeks, and I think he has a shot. And then you're bringing in a solid group. As I mentioned, Marte is coming in for an official here. Marte Barnes is coming in on Tuesday for the Miami game. It's going to be FSU or Auburn, most likely for him. Really talented kid. He's reclassifying from 27 to 26. He's a guy they've been involved with for a while. He was here in October. They offered him in May. Michael Fly's been involved from the get-go with him. He'd be a nice addition to the 4 you already have committed. I think of the 4 you have committed, like Brennan Bass is real silky left-handed shooter type 2-guard. He's from down your way. You're familiar with his dad too.
No pops. Yeah.
But Ponder, the big man for them, he's what they don't have this year. Like Alex Steen busts his backside. Alex Steen is a frenetic, energetic player who makes an effort on every single thing he does on both ends of the court. And there's an energy that you derive from the way he plays on the offensive end, where he will play through contract, try to finish, sometimes get to the free throw line, and now he's making those free throws. Ponder's just more of an imposing force who's a high-level player on both ends of the court on the interior. And it's something they simply, to be matter of fact, could not afford this year. They were balling on a budget, and the budget didn't afford a big man transfer of that sort. So they're getting one from the high school ranks who should help. I also do expect them to have better rev share for next year. From what I understand, it will be a couple $1 million more than it was this past year.
Oh, that buys you a player. That's nice.
Yeah, they're still going to be playing a little short-handed versus some of the peers they're playing, the Dukes, UNCs, the NC States, Miamis. They're invested more. But, they're trying. They're making the effort, and I think they'll get there. I don't know if it happens next year in the sense of, getting there. But I think it's going to be better next year, and I think it's going to be a continuous trend. And I think that's the way Luke's approaching it. Obviously, they want to win every single time they touch the court, but there's a reality to how they're building this program. And some of it is financially restricted.
All right, before we get out of here, Chris, I don't know if this is like a philosophical question, but it involves poop. It often does. It involves dog poop. So she's not a pup. She's 2 years old. She shouldn't be doing this anymore. So we've got some behavioral things we have to work through. Took Emma out in the morning, as I always do. She does her business, as she always does. Should be good for hours at this point. Well, within the hour after that, she gets up from the couch, walks onto the living room carpet. This is a big carpet that we have over hardwood floor. Very shag carpety, I guess. I don't know exactly what type it is, but there's a lot of texture to it. It's white. And she squats. And I'm like, Emma, no. And I get over. And what?
She looked at you while doing it?
Oh, yeah. She knew.
It was intent. It was all about you.
Maybe. And my options in that moment were allow it to happen, try to push her off onto the hardwood floor, which was about 2 or 3 feet away. It wouldn't have been impossible to do, but based on my vantage point, it was already happening. It already started. I could see it happening. And so the third choice, this is the one I made, was to put my hand underneath it.
Oh, jeez.
Because my options were either I can clean my hand,
You're
which I did,
you're going to touch it now, or I'm going to touch it later, I guess.
and the carpet cleaning part of it. Like it was not going to get out of the carpet, right? If it hit the carpet, it would never be 100% clean, as far as I could tell, because of all the different fibers. But my hand, I could put Lysol on it. I could wash it 3 times, which I did. I could do disinfectant, which I did before and after. But I had 2 Emma poops in my hand, and my wife walks out and she's like, "What are you doing?" And so that's what I did. Would you have done the same thing, or would you let it hit the carpet? I guess those are the options.
Well, I don't have carpet like that in my house, thankfully. I don't think I would have done the same thing. No, like I think I would have like watched it happen and went and got resolved. I'm just like, and I understand, like it may never come out as it will never be what it once was. But like,
can we say the same for my hand now? Emotionally,
saying
which hand? It was my left hand, I think.
Okay, I'm never shaking that one.
I mean, you shouldn't shake with your left hand, anyways, because that's the hand that you wipe your ass with. Is what they always say. You don't with your, but that's why you don't shake with your left hand. Look it up. It's a real thing. All right. Well, this had been an informative episode, but I did give you guys a warning. You knew where this was going to an extent. So if you stuck around and you don't like it, that's on you at this point. Thanks to Brett for joining us. His computer did die shortly after he said he's a fruity man. Is that what he said? Am I going to get canceled?
I don't know, but I told him to clip it. Hopefully he does. Yeah,
so it's like his computer just checked out after that. Yeah, he said, "I'm a fruity man," is what he said. That's quote unquote. So computer was like, we're done for the day here. For Brett Nevitt, for Chris Nee, for Zach Blostein, somewhere rolling around in South Florida right now, I'm Brendan Sinone. It's been On the Bench. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys later.